Well, welcome back to another video. My name is Brian Hafferkamp, and I am the designer and creator of a new football game that you see here. Um, Code name is Quick Play Football Game, but I don't really know what the name should be. So I'm going to need your help on that as well. I have a few ideas, but what this is this game exists somewhere between something like a fast drive football that Al Wilson put out last year and a more traditional sort of long play football game. So it's not drive by drive. This is actually a play by play football game, but it has some quicker playing elements. So for the most part, individual players do factor into some of the team ratings, but they're not actually you're not actually playing individual players on every single play. So it's more of a team based type of game. What you're going to need are 2d6 dice, so nothing awesome or specific as far as dice are concerned. And then we have these cards. So this is the 4-team demo that you can get at the link in the description. And it's going to be Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, Tennessee, and New York. The Giants, not the Jets. And then we have a couple of extra cards over here that you'll also be using during the game. So let's just take a look at the different cards. You can see that there's a couple of differences between them, but for the most part, they have all the same things in them. These are from the 2021 football season, so from last year. And the first thing you see, there's an offensive rating. For some of the teams, they have a +1, some have a 0. Most of the teams are going to have either they're going to have a +1 or a 0. So your better offensive teams are going to have a +1. These are your top 10 offensive teams. And then everybody else is going to have a 0 for the offense. And I'll explain sort of where that fits in to the rules. You have a punting number here. This is the average yards per punt for the team. You can see that it's relatively similar, but not the same. These are the average return yards for each team, also very similar, but not the same. And then we have a field goal and extra point value. These are rolls 2 to 12 because you're going to roll both of the d6 dice. And then if the roll is equal to or less than, field goal is good. If the roll is above, so for an extra point, if it's a 12, it's a miss. Otherwise, it's going to be good as an extra point. So some, like the Giants, never missed an extra point. So they're going to be automatic. You wouldn't even have to roll because they hit every extra point. If you wanted to play where there's a chance to miss, you certainly could change that to an 11 so that everybody has a chance to miss. But if you want to play as played, the Giants never missed any field goals. So that's the basic setup. We also have some of these, I'm calling them team attributes. And these are kind of interesting, an interesting little wrinkle that I've not even played with. I just added it in based on some feedback from someone the other day about clutch and, just some different types of special attributes for special situations. So clutch really has to do with the quarterback. So if the quarterback for the team is in the top 10 for game-winning drives in the NFL, then they get a clutch rating, which both the Tennessee Titans and the Buccaneers have. Obviously, this is Tom Brady, who is Mr. Clutch. So what that does is that gives them an extra +1 on the initial roll of the play inside of the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. So any drives from 5 minutes to the end of the game, they get an extra +1, which is an advantage to gaining yards. And I'll show you that soon. RZ stands for red zone. And so this is any team in the top 10 for red zone percentage as far as red zone touchdowns or red zone conversions. So when when these teams are in the red zone, then they will get an extra they'll get an extra boost when they're in the red zone on the advantage roll of a +1. So that's these. This one doesn't, but most of them do. There's also a third down attribute for those teams that are in the top 10 in third down conversions on defense. So if your defense is in the top 10 in third down conversions, then you will get an extra +1 boost for the defense on a third down situation. So if it's third down and 3, then you'll get a +1 boost to your defensive roll on the advantage roll. So it gives you maybe that one little push to sort of overtake the offense on that roll. And TOP stands for time of possession. And for the Tennessee Titans, they were in the top 5, but anyone in the top 10 is going to get a time of possession attribute. And what that does is when you're playing, and I have my timer here. You can sort of ignore this part, but I have my timer here. So instead of on a normal play where you're gaining yards, you would go 30 seconds. But for a time of possession team, you would go 3 and do 45 seconds for every successful play. So they're just clock eaters, and that shortens the game. It sort of pulls out the advantage of being a good running team that's going to shorten the game and do a lot of time of possession. So more of a possession type of offense. And then, like I said, the third down. None of these teams were in the top 10 in the league in third down percentage on defense. So that's why they don't have any attributes in that way. And it might be a little bit surprising that Cincinnati doesn't have any of these. They were just outside of the top 10 in some of these things. Same thing with the Buccaneers. They were just outside the top 10 in one or two things as well. And let's look at these cards here. So this is a big plays card, and this is the penalties card. So, well, let me explain the roles first, I guess. That's going to be helpful. And then once I explain the roles, I think we can go into what happens when a big play happens. So let me just get a couple of dice here. All right, so we're just simply playing with a couple of D6 dice. It would be helpful if they're different colors. That way you can distinguish between the teams. Sometimes I like to use different colors, for one for home team, one for away team. Or you can use the different colors, one for the team on offense, one for the team on defense, however you want to do it. And what we do is let's say we have, let's get these two big time teams here. So our game is between the Titans and the Bucks. It's going to be in Tennessee. And so this is our preliminary setup. The first thing you want to do is you want to roll for the kickoff. The kickoff is just a straight up roll. Whoever wins this roll wins the kickoff. So in this case, it would be the Bucks who win the kickoff. They would be able to decide, do you want the ball or not? Do you want to defer? And then once they make that decision, then we have the kickoff. The kickoff is going to use this return number here. And what we want to do is we have a couple of different rolls. The first roll of every play, almost, except for that last one. The first roll is called the advantage roll, or sometimes I'm going to refer to it as the confrontation roll. But really that's from a different game that I'm making that's a little bit more extensive and brings in individual players. So the advantage roll just says who gets the advantage on this play. Which team is going to have the advantage. And so we roll. And on this play for the kickoff, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would have the advantage. And what we do is we roll both D10s. We get a 3. So we're going to add these two and get a 3. And let's say that Tennessee is receiving. So Tampa Bay deferred. Tennessee's going to receive the ball first. But Tampa Bay has the advantage on the play. What we do is we take that 3 and we are going to subtract it from the return, because that would be to the advantage of Tampa Bay to have a shorter return. So we'll say their average return -3, and they're going to start at the 16-yard line. So they bring it out, but good coverage by Tampa Bay. Let's say the advantage was to Tennessee, and we do the roll for the kickoff. So now Tennessee is receiving, so we're going to look at their return, and we take this 6 and we add it, because that's to the advantage of the Titans. So instead of starting at the 19, which is their average starting position, we're going to start at the 25. So we just simply add the 6 here, and then it gives them a little bit of an extra return. So you can see they could start as much as the 30, 31, right? Which would be a pretty good field position, a good return. So we've kicked off. It's Tennessee ball, 1st and 10. And you can see that Tennessee has a 0 on their offense. So when we do the advantage roll, there's not going to be any addition to the team. Now, the difference there is going to be that they're the home team, and so they're going to get a little bit of a boost in advantage. And let me bring in the momentum cards. All right, so momentum cards are a special mechanic that I brought into the game, and try to get those on the screen. You can see them here. I've just printed them out. I haven't cut them. You can see that as far as in size, they're about half the size of the team cards. And what we would do beginning, we're on our first roll of the game, we would automatically give the home team this home field advantage card. So that's how you'll start the game. The Tennessee Titans have what we're going to call momentum because they're the home team. So the home team is amped up, they're in front of their home crowd, and they start with a little bit of an advantage. Now, you're going to add +1 on the advantage roll, which is the first roll of each play, until the opponent makes a big play. So they're going to have the advantage until the opponent makes a big play. What is a big play? We'll discuss that in just a moment. But at this point, we're at the advantage roll. And so we would roll for Tennessee, we would roll for Tampa Bay, and obviously Tampa Bay has won the advantage roll, but because we are adding +1 on the advantage roll, this is actually a 3 instead of a 2, and so it's actually 3-3. And whenever there's a tie on the advantage roll, the advantage goes to the offense. So what does that mean? When the offense controls the play, they roll 2d6s, and they get the yardage on the d6. I can't remember if I did both d6s for that, or if I just did the one. I think I've been playing with both d6s, so that's something maybe to sort of think about. which plays better, +6 or 6 + 6. So I think it's going to be better to roll both d6s. So we have a gain of 9 on the play, and then it's going to be 2nd down and 1. So easy peasy, right? Again, so this is a 4 to a 1. And again, this is really 5 to 1. And so 2nd down and 1 is going to be a gain of 8. Let's say that this was our advantage roll for the next 1st and 10. It would be 5 to a 4, right? So we're adding 1 for Tennessee until Tampa Bay makes a big play. So Tampa wins this one, and instead of rolling for the offense, we're going to roll for the defense. And what does that mean? It means the defense has made a stop. So if nothing happens on this roll, as far as a big play, then it's going to be 2nd down and 10 at the same yard line. So you can think about it as an incomplete pass, something like that. But the defense has stopped the offense. So we roll, we get a 7. That would just be a defensive stop. So it would be 2nd down and 10, and then we roll the advantage roll again. However, if they had rolled a 55, now the big plays come into play. So on a double, any double, 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5 6 6, we have a big play chart. And so we have a little card here. You could cut these, or you can leave them together like this, because really they sort of probably go together, or you could fold them. Because if the big play is a penalty, then you're going to want to consult the penalty card. So we have a big play card here. And you can see that we're rolling for the defense. So we're going to look on this side. We have a 55. And so we're going to come down, and it's going to be a fumble recovery. So the big play here is that Tampa Bay causes a fumble and recovers the fumble on the play. For fumble recovery, I believe you're going to, I believe it's going to be at the spot of the line of scrimmage. There's no like actual gaining yardage or anything. You could homebrew some sort of return type system. I've done roll again and doubles is a return. Otherwise, no return on the play. We also have a tackle for loss, and on a tackle for loss, you would roll 1d6, and then, for instance, if it was a 5, it'd be a 5-yard tackle for loss. If it's a sack, same thing. You just roll. That's a 6-yard sack. For fumble recovery, I've been playing it just at the line of scrimmage. They've recovered the ball. And then for a pickoff, an interception didn't fit, so I did pick off. And for a pickoff, you're going to roll 2d10s to see how far down the field. So that would be 9 yards from the line of scrimmage downfield was the pick. And so you take the ball there. Again, the game is relatively basic. It's supposed to play pretty quickly. So there's some of the details are glossed over, like, well, there's no return yardage and all these things. If you want to homebrew that into the game, feel free to do that. But the game, sort of like up-tempo basketball, is supposed to move pretty quickly. One of the things that's hard, and I'm doing another football game that's just sort of more detailed, so I know that this is true, is, getting a game in to play football in less than an hour is not easy. So in order to do that, because there are so many moving parts in football, you're going to have to cut some corners, and that's one of the corners that I'm cutting out of the box. But again, if you want to add detail in, by all means, do it. And share it with the community, because maybe your ideas are really good and other people would want to do that as well. If it's an 11, so say we rolled an 11, then we have a penalty, and then that brings in the penalty card. Getting everybody green here. That's a little better. So we're going to bring in the penalty card, and we would roll again for the penalty. And because this is a defense, we're looking over here. I'm sorry. It's an offensive penalty. If we look here, it says penalty on the offense. This one is a penalty on the defense. We're actually rolling against the offensive penalties here. So we have an 8, and an 8 to a 9 is an illegal formation on the offense, and it's a 5-yard penalty. In the guidebook, if there are any special things like loss of down, which I don't think there are, but some of these, like illegal use in the hands or hands to the face mask, that's 5 yards plus an automatic first down, right? For pass interference, it happens at the spot of the foul. In order to find the spot of the foul, you do just like you do on an interception, and you roll both d10, so 5 yards down the field. That's where the pass interference happens, and that's where the spot of the foul is. You could just as easily, instead of adding these, you could combine them so that, let's say 41 instead of a 5, or you could do a 14. Whichever one of these would be the first number. I guess you just roll 1, so a 6. So 66, would be 66 yards down the field is where the pass interference happens. So you could do that just as well if you want to put a little bit more pressure on the defense. So those are penalties. So we have holding, false start, illegal formation, a delay of game, and an illegal block. This is an illegal block in the back. We also have pass interference, holding, offside, illegal use of the hands, and a face mask on the defense. So those are our penalties, and the penalties come in on a big play. Now, when a big play is made, remember we had our home field advantage. It's a +1 until the opponent makes a big play. So here, Tampa Bay has made a big play. So what we're going to do is these should be cut out and turned face down. And then you would pull, you would flip the top card and you would put it for Tampa Bay because they've made a big play. You're going to take away this home field advantage because when you pull a momentum card, you have to get rid of, the momentum swings, right? Both teams can't have momentum at the same time. That's the point of momentum. So you take away the card for Tennessee, you add a momentum card for Tampa Bay, and then let's say they had this one, so add +1 on the advantage roll until the end of the current quarter. So for the rest of the first quarter, they would have an extra +1 advantage, which they already have a +1 advantage on the offense, so that would be a +2 advantage on the offense. And then if they get into the red zone, they have a real advantage, because then it's another +1. So you can see how momentum, how good teams can sort of get stacked against teams that are not so good. Or just, good teams. Good teams on offense are going to perform better. They're going to have a better opportunity to score. Some of these could be way out of whack. So again, we're testing the game. If you find that it's just too many +1s, then maybe we should change some of the mechanics a little bit. But Tampa Bay should have a little bit of an advantage, and if they get the momentum, it's going to be really difficult to stop them. So that's sort of the thinking behind that. So they would have the momentum for the rest of the first quarter, or until Tennessee makes a big play. So if Tennessee were back on offense and they rolled, they had the advantage, and then they rolled a double 6, we would look at the big play chart here. And a double 6 is a touchdown automatically. So that's a big game-turning type play that swings the momentum back into Tennessee's favor. We would remove the momentum card from Tampa Bay, even though it says until the end of the quarter. It's really until the end of the quarter or until another big play is made by the other team. So we remove that from Tampa Bay. We would draw a momentum card, and then Tennessee would have whatever the advantage is for the half or the quarter or for just the drive, whatever the advantage roll is. And I'm looking for more opportunities on the advantage roll. I have just sort of +1 on the advantage roll, but if you can think of more opportunities, maybe +1 for the defense. If the defense makes a play, we could have an offense and defensive momentum pile, But I figure the defense making a big play is going to lead to the offense having some momentum. This is a team game, right? So they sort of feed off of each other. So we have the +1 advantage, and then that would go to Tennessee now. And so Tennessee would have that for the drive or the quarter or whatever it is for the rest of the time that's specified on the card. And so that's, outside of special teams, that is the back and forth of the game. So let's say it does get down to 4th down. So Tampa has the ball. Actually, Tampa scored. They kicked it off to Tennessee. Tennessee's going back down the field. And they are going to punt. So on a punt, we do an advantage roll as well. So each team, and then Tampa Bay is going to have the advantage here on the punt. And what does that mean? It's just like the kickoff. So you roll both. And so that's a 12. And so for a punt, because it would be more advantageous for Tampa Bay to have fewer yards on a punt, a shorter punt, we're going to subtract 12 from Tennessee's punt average. So that would be a 32-yard punt instead of a 44-yard punt, which is typically going to be an advantage. And basically, we count that yardage, and whatever it is, 32 yards from the line of scrimmage is going to be the new line of scrimmage. So I'm not playing any returns. You could certainly do that if you want to. I just don't have a number. I don't have a punt return number to roll against, which would be easy enough, but I'm trying to keep the game sort of simple. once you get into details like that, it's hard to stop because we have those details for all kinds of things. Sorry, got a little something going on in my throat here. So then Tampa Bay would take over 1st and 10 at whatever 32 yards beyond the line of scrimmage would be. And then you play it out. And let's say Tampa Bay runs it down to the 20-yard line, and it's 4th down and 5, and they want to kick a field goal. So we're going to take the 20-yard line. We're going to add 17. So it's 10 for the end zone, 7 for the holder, 7 yards back from the line of scrimmage, is sort of standard where people stand and where they kick the ball from. So 20 plus 17 is 37. So it's a 37-yard kick. There's no distinguishing between how far. We're just using their overall field goal percentage, and these are just represented by a 2 to 12 roll number. But you know, I'm trying to get a roll number that's near their actual percentages. I think for Tampa Bay, it's something like 87% was their field goal percentage or something like that. So we're trying to get a number that's pretty close and that accurately represents what their field goal chances would be. And basically you just roll 2 d10s or d6s. We have a 9. A 9 is equal to or less than 10, so the field goal is good. And so a pretty basic mechanic for the field goals. Had that been a 12, oh yeah, had it been either an 11 or a 12, it would have been a miss. Same thing goes for Tennessee. An 11 or 12 represents a miss for them. And extra points work the same way, so you just roll on a scale of 10 or 12, 2 to 12, and you can see that they're in the 90 percentile. And so a 12 would be a miss. So they do each have an opportunity because they weren't 100% on extra points. So there was a possibility of missing in 2021. And so a 12 would be a miss. Anything else would be a make. So equal to or less than is a make. Now let's say Tennessee gets down into the red zone and they want to run a play from inside the 20, inside the Buccaneers 20. Now they have a red zone team attribute, and that means their offense would get a +1. So on the advantage roll, instead of a 3, this would be a 4. Now if they also have momentum, you would add a momentum roll to that as well. And so if they had momentum, let's say they had this momentum card, so +1 until the end of the half or until the other team gets momentum. So that would be a +1 for the red zone. It would be a +1 for the momentum card. And then that would instead be a 5. And then now a 5 to a 5 goes to Tennessee, where normally the roll would have gone to Tampa Bay. So you can see how the attributes sort of all work together to kind of help the team go forward in special situations. So then they would be able to roll for yardage, and that would be a 5-yard gain on the play. So instead of being stopped, they have an opportunity to get yardage. So that's how the red zone one works. And then the same thing happens. Let's say Tampa Bay is they're down by 3. Brady's driving them. There's 3 minutes left, and they start the drive down the field. So for the rest of that drive, for the game-winning drives, when they're down and they're driving toward the goal line inside of 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, as long as they're down, they can get the extra +1. So they're going to get a +1 for the offense. They're going to get a +1 for being clutch. And if they have momentum, they're going to get an extra +1. So that this is a perfect roll for that. So normally Tennessee would win that advantage roll and be able to stop them. But because they get +1, 2, 3, that would now be a 6 to a 5. If they had no momentum, then it would be a +1 for offense, +1 for clutch, and that would be like a 5, and then tie goes the offense, and then they would still be able to roll, right? So it makes it more difficult for the defense. It makes it a little bit easier for the offense, and we're trying to simulate Tom Brady coming down the field, right, in a clutch situation. Same thing would be for Tennessee. They had several game-winning drives. I think the NFL leader was 7, and then there was a variety of teams that had 4, 3, 4, 5 game-winning drives during the season, which, out of 17 games is a quarter of the season. So that's quite a bit. 7 game-winning drives is a lot. And some of them are going to be teams that you expect. Some of them are teams that you don't expect. And that's just the way it is. So that is the basic gameplay for this football game. You can see it's pretty simple. Doesn't take long to explain it. But what happens is it moves pretty quickly. And sorry, I lost the audio there for a minute. And it moves pretty quickly. So let's just do like a little sample gameplay. Tennessee 1st and 10. They have a 6. A 6 to a 6 goes to the offense. So they're going to roll, and that's going to be an 8-yard gain to Tennessee. Another tie. Tie goes to the offense. And so 2nd and 2, they get a 3-yard gain, and that's going to be a 1st down for Tennessee. First, get a 4 and a 4, another tie. So that goes to Tennessee. And that's going to be a 4-yard gain. It'll be 2nd down and 6. For some reason, this it's not staying in there. I don't know why. So sorry about the audio. The audio is going a little weird on me. 2nd down and 6. You get a 5 to a 2, also to the offense. And 2nd down and 6, they get just enough yards for 1st down. So it's going to be 1st and 10 for Tennessee. And so they're driving pretty good. Tampa Bay can't take advantage of the small roll. So that's back to Tennessee. And that's a nice little 8-yard gain. Brings up 2nd and 2. Another small roll, and this time Tampa Bay takes advantage of that. The advantage is here. It was 1st and 10, I believe. And so now we have a big play, and the big play goes to Tampa Bay. It's a 44. And big plays on the defense, so that's going to be a sack. So instead of 2nd and 10, it's going to be a 4-yard sack, so it'll be 2nd and 14 now. So you can see how the big plays sort of come into it. 2nd and 14, defense wins that roll again. And no yardage on the play, no big play. So that brings up 3rd and 14 for Tennessee. Tennessee wins this one. And they get 5 of that back, so it would actually be 4th down and 9. And Tennessee's going to punt. So we do an advantage roll for the punt, and the advantage goes to Tennessee. And when we roll, we roll a 7. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the punt for Tennessee, and we're going to add 7 to the play. So instead of 44, it's 44 plus 7, so it'd be a 51-yard punt. And that's obviously going to push Tampa Bay deeper into their own territory. Now, if the result of the play kicks the ball into the end zone or out of the end zone, that's going to be a touchback. So then it would be a touchback for Tampa Bay. And then Tampa Bay takes over 1st and 10. Their first roll. A 4 is really like a 5. And that's a 5. So a 5 to a 5 is going to be advantage to Tampa Bay. So an 8-yard gain on 1st down, which means 2nd down and 2. So now this roll is like a 2 to a 3. So Tennessee is going to win that one. And now there's a big play for Tennessee on defense. That's going to be a sack. So, there's not too many of these to remember. So I think after a while, you're going to remember 33 and 44 are going to be a sack. So how many yards? It's a sack for a loss of 3. So instead of 3rd and 2, it's going to be 3rd and 5. I believe I remember that correctly. So that's a 3 to a 6. Tennessee wins that roll again. And at 3rd and 5, they make the stop. 4th down and 5. And now Tampa Bay is going to punt. So we do our advantage roll. Advantages to Tennessee. And then 8 yards. 42 yard punt when the advantage is to the defense is going to be subtracted. So 42 minus 8 is a 34. So that's going to be a 34-yard punt. And then we would move from this line of scrimmage 34 yards, 34 yards from the line of scrimmage. That would be the new line of scrimmage for Tennessee, which would be, depending on where they are, would be in the 30s or 40s, their own 30 or 40. So that's sort of the back and forth of the game. It moves pretty quickly. You'll need a way to keep score. On the in the GitHub repo, I also have this field that you can use. You can use this time clock, or you can use your own time clock. I've set it at 30-second or 15-second increments. And the way I've been playing is if, let's say, the defense wins the roll, I've only been taking 15 seconds off, considering that to be like an incomplete pass. And an incomplete pass is going to stop the clock. And if the offense wins the roll and gains yardage, then I consider that to be a 30-second play, because the clock is generally going to keep running. So 15 seconds if the defense wins and there's no big play. 30 seconds if the offense wins. And for Tennessee, who is a time of possession team, they would get 30 seconds on an incomplete pass and 45 seconds. So instead of moving 1 or 2, they would move 2 or 3 on the different plays. And I don't think there is any more paraphernalia that you need. So you need the momentum cards if you want to play with the momentum. I would encourage you maybe at first just to get the hang of rolling back and forth between the teams, and then working in the big plays, working in the penalties, and then after that working in the momentum cards. All of these components are available at the GitHub repo. You can follow the link down in the description. And I really want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the game? I know that it makes sense, and it actually plays pretty well. I played a game a couple days ago, I guess, Tampa Bay against New York, and it was 17-6. That was the win for Tampa Bay, but I wasn't playing with any big plays or anything. So big plays, I think, are going to shift the game a little bit and make it a little more fun. Momentum is also going to sort of shift things, and these special team attributes, I hope, will come into play during some kind of clutch situations in the game. Especially, red zone is going to come in to play. I'm interested to see how the time of possession affects the game for a team like Tennessee. And that's the game. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I'm posting this to the Advanced Stats Football and not to On Base Baseball. So trying to keep football in the football section and baseball in the baseball section. I haven't always been very good at that. But this is a channel dedicated just to the football games. Advanced Stats Football is also out there that you can play and try. And then I'm also working on sort of a newer football game. I have it here. Let's see if I can pull that out for you. This would be a team card for the Arizona Cardinals. And we also have these play cards here. It's kind of interesting. And we have some offensive play cards. I'm messing up a game that I was playing, but doing it for a good purpose to show you what's going on. Maybe this will get you jazzed up about something. So there's, I don't know what's going to show here. Those don't really show up. So we have some, and we have lots of these, play cards. So I have several defenses. This is a 3-4 defense with some different defensive plays. We have a linebacker blitz here. We have just sort of a cover 2 look for a 3-4. We have a halfback sweep, and then we also have sort of an out of the B gap or the four hole, however you want to think of it. It's like a 24, not a dive, but more like a hammer kind of play where it's just a straight run up the middle, no counter or anything like that. So this is our card. We have sort of an offensive and defensive number here. We have some modifiers to the roll, and these will be modifiers to the same. It's similar mechanics. So you have an advantage roll on every play, and then the advantage tells you which of these cards to look at. So if these were the 2 cards in play, we have a run up the middle, and we have cover 2. So who has the advantage, the offense or the defense? Which of these cards am I looking at to determine what's going to happen on the play? So we would have sort of that's not true. This one plays differently. The confrontation roll is between the running back, and because he is in this grid here, which you can't see the grid probably on the video very well, but there's a nine box grid here, and you run up the middle. So we have this linebacker is going over to this grid, this linebacker is going over to this one, and the person that we have here is the linebacker 1. So we have a running back 1 against a linebacker 1 and sort of this mano-a-mano confrontation. We roll to see who has the higher number. The offensive line is a -1 on the rush, so this really is a 2. And then depending on who they're playing, this roll might get modified up or down, depending on what kind of defensive line they had against the rush. And so the winner of that confrontation in this scenario would be the running back if this didn't change. So now we roll off of running back 1, who is Chase Edmonds, and he has some offensive rush numbers here. So then you would roll, we would play with 2d10s, not 2d6s, but you would roll basically if it was a 7, that would be a short gain. And then for that, you would use 1d10 to find out how far the rush was. If it was a medium gain, you'd use 2d10s, and if it was an explosive play, you would use 2d10s. And then instead of adding them together, you would take them combined. So instead of a 6, it would be a 42. And then that's an explosive play, right? If it's 100, then he fumbles the ball, and then you just have to kind of play out the fumble to see what happened. So if the linebacker 1 had won, the linebacker 1 also has some things that he can do on the play. And so he can make a tackle. The missed tackle is based off of Jordan Hicks' actual missed tackle numbers. Tackle for loss is a possibility, and a forced fumble is also a possibility. So we have a lot of possibilities in this game. We have blitzing. We have what happens when the quarterback gets pressured. There's scrambles. There's sacks. There's pass deflections and interceptions. All types of things are going on in this game. You can see field goals as well are sectioned out by 10-yard increments. And so the game is a little bit more detailed. You can see how many players are available in the offense and the defense. So we actually have different types of plays for different types of players. There's also, you can't see it here very well, but if I bring it up a little, maybe if you can see that. You can see here there's a little 0 to 5. I got to make those a little bit bigger because they're hard to see. But there's a 0 to 5, and basically on this run play, you need to resolve whether that block was made before you can decide the yardage on the play. Because if the block wasn't made, then that means that the defense is going to be in control of the play. So some interesting things like that. Same thing here. You need to resolve these 2 blocks here from the linebackers, and you have to win both of them. Otherwise, one of those linebackers is going to be able to read off of his defensive blitz card. So whenever this game is, when I feel like it's ready to play, and it's pretty close, then I'll be releasing that game as well. And that might begin to take the place of advanced stats football. I don't know. That might be advanced stats football. I'm not sure is what I'm saying. So those are the 2 football games I'm working on. This one you can play. It will probably come out first just because it's a little less extensive and is basically ready to play. The other, I'm still testing out some of the different game mechanics and how that works. So go out, click on the link in the description. Check out this game, play it. We have 4 teams, so you can do a little tournament. You can just play them against each other. You can put 2 good teams against 2 average teams or mediocre. You can just mix and match and play them. And like I said, you can probably play a game in less than an hour once you get the hang of everything. And even in installing everything, you can see how quickly it moves down the field. But you're going to play probably 150 plays. So that's going to be 150 runs, 150 rolls. So it's going to be quite a few. And just let me know what you think. Is it playing well? Are there things that need to be changed? Is there anything that could be improved or something that can be added very easily that might add to the game? And you can drop me a line at advancedstatsfootball@gmail.com, and that would be an easy way to send that to me. You can also leave a comment here on this video. You can connect with me on the forums or at Facebook, whichever way. You can hit me up on Facebook Messenger. You can search for me there, and that would be okay too. All right, I think that's it for here. Go out and try it, and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.